The stock market is quite hard to predict, and it's not easy, especially when you're still a beginner. There are a lot of things you need to consider before even thinking about investing. So if you're thinking about entering this type of industry, don't worry, we'll give you a heads up. Hey, welcome to Stock Market Mate. Today we'll talk about the different economic indicators and see if we can answer the question most people ask. Should we invest now or wait for the stock market to fall even more? Before we get into it, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to help us beat the YouTube algorithm. If you're done with that, then let's get right into it. Economic indicator number 1. Unemployment. Let's move on to our first economic indicator, and we will begin with unemployment. As a result, this is one encouraging indication for the economy. As we can see, the unemployment rate has dropped all the way to 3.5% in the most current data. So in general, this is a respectable figure. From an economic sense, we believe places like the Federal Reserve are looking at this and saying, yeah, this is a bright light for the economy despite some pretty visible weaknesses. So when we look at our economic scorecard, this point obviously goes to the bulls since it is a bullish sign for the larger economy. But now, we believe it makes sense to get right into one of the economy's most pressing issues. Economic indicator number 2. Inflation. Inflation is currently at 9%, and as we can see in this figure, which spans about 20 years, this is by far the highest level. In fact, you had to go back 40 or 50 years to get anywhere near this. So this is a significant quantity, and it is most likely the most serious problem for the broader economy. This is certainly a point for the bears because it is a terrible sign for the entire economy. Inflation is commonly described as an increase in the cost of goods and services. So as the price of milk, bread, or accounting services rises, so does inflation. There are different ways to describe it, but the Federal Reserve normally defines it that way, so we think it makes sense to stick with a textbook definition. Economic indicator number 3. Wages. Rising salaries can now counteract some of the impacts of rising inflation. This is the wage chart going all the way back to 2012. And here, we can see that salaries have increased as well, but as we've seen in the previous months and studies of the broader economy, wages continue to lag behind the inflation rate. So yes, individuals are earning more money, and yes, in general, people are receiving larger raises, but those raises are not increasing at the same rate as the cost of living. So we think it's a good indicator that earnings are rising, and we wish there were more of them. Now if we're jumping over the scorecard, we believe wages alone are a good sign. If salaries were to fall here, we'd have even more problems. So we believe that the fact that salaries are rising is the tipping point for bulls. However, this is more than compensated by the point for the bears that occur with inflation. Economic indicator number 4. Credit cards or auto loans. Now let's have a look at some household statistics. So here's a graph showing the percentage of credit cards that are more than 90 days late. It shows how many people are 90 days past due on their credit card payments, and we can see that this figure is improving. That falling number in recent months is encouraging. This is quite surprising. Given the current economic crisis, we fully expected that more people would default. We don't want to double count something that is essentially saying the same thing. So on the scorecard, we give both one bullish point. Economic indicator number 5. Yield curve. Next, we'll look at the yield curve. So how does the yield curve work? We search for the shape of the yield curve. We can see that yield curve is now changing. We term it broadly sideways, but the key point is that the 2-year rate is currently higher than the 10-year rate. It's also greater than the 30-year rate, which means that if we bought a US Treasury and invested for 30 years, we'd make less money than if we bought a 2-year or even 6-month Treasury. This has been a terrible omen for the economy in general. This is known as an inverted yield curve. When the short end of the short term has a larger yield than the longer end of the short term, the market is said to be inverted. This has been inverted, and it really inverted 6 months ago, signaling that a recession was on the way. Now, GDP has lately fallen into negative territory for the second quarter in a row, which is the precise definition of a recession. As a result, we can confidently and unequivocally state that the yield curve foretold the present recession. Hopefully, this yield curve will flatten down. However, if the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates, which appears to be inevitable, the yield curve will remain inverted, which is a poor indicator for the broader economy, a bad sign for borrowing money, and a bad sign for company growth. All these indicators lead to weaker growth in the future, therefore this is clearly a point for the bears on our scorecard. Economic indicator number 6. Housing starts. Let us now turn our attention to housing starts. So this is the number of new houses being built, which has historically been a good predictor of the broader economy because the more houses that are created, the more houses that are bought and sold. This also means more jobs and a more productive economy overall. Although the overall trend is upward, we can see that the housing starts number has lately fallen below what we call the trend line. As a result, we genuinely believe it makes sense. Because we weren't sure about this one, we gave it a neutral point, awarding the point to both the bulls and the bears. It hasn't obviously turned lower left yet, but there are plenty of reasons why it has suffered. Why the figure has dropped below the trend line is perhaps relatively foreseeable. So over the scoreboard, it's looking somewhat even right now, but there's more to come. Economic indicator number 7, manufacturing. The ISM Manufacturing Economic Indicator is up next. This is an indicator that monitors manufacturing growth. The most critical in this case is 50. Anything more than 50 indicates positive progress. Anything less than 50 indicates negative growth. We obviously desire positive progress. Now if you look at where the number is today, we can see that we're still above 50, implying that our manufacturing economy continues to grow. Our manufacturing sector is expanding, but it has recently begun to decline, implying that we are on the verge of seeing little or negative growth. So we want to say it's a bullish point because we're over 50, but because it's decreasing, we want to say it's a bearish point. So we went right down the middle, split the difference, and declared it a neutral point. Economic indicator number 8, consumer confidence. Okay, the next economic indicator we'll look at is consumer confidence, which we believe is the most significant and appears to be struggling the most. As a result, the consumer drives the US economy and much of the global economy. The economy comes to a halt if consumers do not spend, and we can see that consumer confidence is now lower than it was during the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis when the entire housing bubble burst. Consumer confidence has dropped recently, which is significant. This is the one that concerns us the most. This, as well as inflation. Those are the two most alarming. We now believe that the two are more closely linked than we previously thought. Clearly, this one gets a bearish point, but we believe that consumer confidence and inflation are inextricably linked. People get increasingly concerned when costs rise. If consumers notice that their wage may be increasing somewhat, but their weekly food cost is increasing, or gas prices are skyrocketing, energy prices are also rising, this is a serious issue. So we believe that until the Federal Reserve can bring this under control and contain inflation, we believe that this may be a big problem for the broader economy. When we first look at the scorecard, it appears impartial, but we believe that some of these indicators deserve greater importance than others. So the next question is, do we invest now or wait for the stock market to plummet even more? Well, we genuinely believe that if we have two options here, if we're dollar cost averaging, we should just keep doing that. Dollar cost averaging is when we continuously take a set amount of money every week, month, quarter, or whatever we do, regardless of what the market is doing. We believe that for most investors, simply dollar cost averaging every month and quarter is the safest bet. Whatever it is, keep going, and don't be concerned about the stock market. Well, that's about it for today. If you found this video helpful, kindly click the like and subscribe button. Also, you might want to leave a comment below. We love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to want to watch one of these two videos right here. Enjoy!